Quantum key distribution, or QKD, is a subfield of quantum cryptography. I'll be talking about the first QKD protocol, BB84, and how it depends on the laws of quantum mechanics to achieve security. Encryption happens in everyday life. For example, whenever you open a web browser, you notice that your communication with the web server is protected by this protocol, HTTPS. But how does encryption works? Encryption turns your message unintelligible by using a cryptographic key, which is just a piece of information. But key needs to be secure and contains sufficient entropy. Here is a traditional example of generating key. Multiplication of these two large prime numbers is very fast. But when I try to factorize the product to find out which two prime numbers were multiplied, it took forever. So if you associate one of these prime numbers with your key, and then the adversaries cannot crack the key easily. In the future, however, when quantum computer comes along, it will speed up the prime factorization process. And that's where QKD, a protocol that does not depend on computing complexity, comes to light. BB84 utilizes polarization, which is the electric field oscillation direction. A polarizer, or a basis, can make an unpolarized natural light turn to vertical polarized light with 50% of intensity. When you consider a single photon though, we're dealing with probability. Different bases allow different polarization to pass. So this photon here has a 50% chance to come out as vertical polarization and horizontal polarization. But if we change to the right basis, this photon will for sure come out as a diagonal polarization. Otherwise, measurement changes the photon's original polarization. But we don't know what the right basis is before we measure a random photon. In BB84 protocol, beats are encoded in bases and polarized photon. If Alice wants to send bit 0, she could choose a rectilinear basis and prepare a vertical polarized photon. When Bob received this photon without any distortion, he measured those photons using a rectilinear basis as well. Then he's for sure to get a vertical polarization and recover bit 0. The BB84 protocol begins by Alice generating a random sequence of zeros and ones that potentially forge the key. Alice prepared random bases and a corresponding polarized photons, and then she sent those photons through a quantum channel, a fiber, for instance. After Bob receiving those photons, he measured those photons using the random basis as well and get a sequence of bits. Then Alice and Bob discussed about what basis they have used over a classical authentic channel, for instance, a radio that can be monitored but not altered. Then they discard those bits that were measured by unmatched basis. Without noise and eavesdropper, the remaining bits contribute to the key. If an eavesdropper called Eve tried to hack the quantum channel, because she doesn't know what basis Alice and Bob had used, so her measurement potentially changed the photon's original polarization. Then Alice and Bob sacrificed some bits and compare for the errors which were brought by Eve's measurement. Then they can just discard the whole protocol if they found out that the error bit rate is too high. But what if Eve attacks on the classical channel and get information of the basis? Well, remember Alice and Bob only discussed about the basis after the photon transmission is done. So even though Eve got the right basis, she has no photons to measure anymore. But what if she hacks both channels? In quantum channel, she intercepts the photons, duplicates them, and sends the original photon to Bob. In the classical channel, she listened to the basis communication, and then she used the right basis to measure her copies of photon. But because of no cloning theory, a single quantum state cannot be copied, and then she cannot hack without being noticed. In real life, though, because of the noise during the fiber transmission, the bits might be altered even without Eve's interception. So Alice and Bob needs to run the error bit correction and the privacy amplification procedures. QED has been commercialized over these years with progressive research on such as photon quantum random number generator. The future is going to be encrypted with more security thanks to quantum mechanics. Thank you.